Last week, I was in Mexico City for a Bitcoin conference, and I met this lovely young lady, Isabel, who is part of the Get-Based film crew. I told her that in addition to being a Bitcoin consultant, I'm a documentary filmmaker. And so she said, you have to come to Jekyll Island, Georgia. We're making a documentary next week about the creation of the Federal Reserve, which was birthed on Jekyll Island. I love the idea of working with the Get-Based crew. I wondered, what does it mean to get based? It turns out that the Federal Reserve is the exact opposite of being based. So I drove up to Georgia with a sense of trepidation because I don't know about you, but the name Jekyll Island sounds like the location of a horror movie. And maybe that's because of the book, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where Dr. Jekyll prescribes narcotics for himself and turns into a psychopath, Mr. Hyde. However, Jekyll Island is beautiful. It was once entirely owned by the billionaire J.P. Morgan. The extreme wealthy people used to vacation there and relax and get away from the dreary winters in New England. And being there, I actually felt like I was transported back in time, back to 1910, when this secret meeting that birthed the Federal Reserve actually took place at this resort on Jekyll Island. There was a croquet lawn in front with people dressed from foot to head in all white playing croquet. There was an old car parked in front, and the building was beautifully preserved. It was built during the Gilded Age, the age of robber barons, and great technological advancements that we still have in our culture today. But the people who met in this building in November 1910 represented about 1/4 of the entire wealth in the world at that time, and they met in secret. These people weren't content with having that much wealth. They planned for a new central bank called the Federal Reserve to secretly take even more of the world's wealth by inflation through money printing. Now, Jekyll Island Resort was wonderful. We were walking around looking at all these cottages, very rich people who had built cottages near the resort, Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, etc. And we wanted to get into the room where supposedly these meetings took place between the world's bankers and United States government officials, where they hatched the plan to create the Federal Reserve. And we were so excited to get in there, but we couldn't because there was another meeting going on. And we anxiously sat and waited. We passed the time by playing Monopoly, which was the most surreal thing to me, because playing Monopoly, it's a game about funny money that buys real property. Playing that game in the same building where the Federal Reserve was created, and the Federal Reserve creates funny money, it was really just too much of a coincidence, too much irony. And when we did get into the room, it wasn't like I had expected. I don't know what I expected, but I had maybe this vision that the devil himself had written his signature on the wall, or put his stamp on there. But it was just a room with tables, and pictures of the people who were there in 1910 were on the wall in that historic meeting. But that was it. It was really anticlimactic. And I think I learned from that it's the people that make the world what it is. And it's not necessarily the places that they do them in. The people that met that day in November 1910, they colluded to enslave the world through a fraudulent money system, which silently and surreptitiously steals from everybody who uses it. Now, I don't want to get preachy, but I think that's evil. And anyone who would come up with such a plan to silently steal from people through inflation, which hardly anyone can notice because it happens gradually over time, and it quietly takes our purchasing power away from us. Anyone who comes up with a system like that, I think that's pretty evil. And so as a result, today we have an economy that is based on anything but value. It's a society that isn't based on anything real. It's disintegrating towards collapse, all because the Federal Reserve created a system where it is able to print money out of nothing in order to fund never-ending wars, to fund bank bailouts whenever the banks need to be bailed out, or they can fund any number of boondoggles, like $42 billion to build electrical vehicle charging stations, which never get built. The list goes on and on of the corruption of the money that the Fed funds through our government. And this has led to worldwide misery for most people, while the rich have gotten richer, and we've seen this for a long time. And so it's through this Federal Reserve System that the dollar isn't backed by anything real, anything tangible. It's like the monopoly money we were playing with. And this is how Bitcoin fits in, because Bitcoin is hard money. It's sound money. It's based on the most valuable resources in the universe: time and energy. You can't create new Bitcoin without time and energy. And that's just how it works. So Bitcoin is based on time and energy. And I finally got it, what it means to be based. And based is, you're based in truth. You're based in reality. You're based on freedom. You're not based on imaginary things. You're not based on feelings. You're not based on cockamamie schemes of money printing that's backed by nothing. That's why we need to end the Fed. And that's why I was up there at Jekyll Island, to learn more about this history, to participate in making a documentary film with the Get-based crew, which should be out in the fall. And that's why I was up there, to support individual liberty and freedom. That's what Bitcoin represents to all of us. But the real source of value in our world, it comes from people. It comes from our relationships with people. And that's, to me, really what being based is about. And that's what I learned is really at the heart of true wealth and of true freedom. It's through people. It's not necessarily through places. Being based is being based in relationships, being in reality. So please reach out to me if you have any questions about Bitcoin or the Federal Reserve or Jekyll Island. And stay based, everybody. Okay, bye.